12 that by the age of 30 she'd had, a full career. And what she hadn't ever had was a home. She'd never had a home, and the idea of a family and, after living on the road like that, I think that idea was really appealing. Plus, for a dancer, like an athlete, there's a shelf life for this. You can't go on doing that indefinitely. And so she thought I had the chance at a second life, right when, the height of my skills as a dancer is going to start waning. I am being offered the chance of something else, a new adventure, a part of my life that I've missed out on. And, at that time, women got married and had children a lot earlier, so it was already unusual to delay this until you were 30. Now it's every day, but then it wasn't,
And today you don't even have to be married to have children, so it's a whole different world out there.
A whole different world, yeah.
So did she pursue anything after she got married and had you and your sister? Did she continue teaching at all, or did she?
Absolutely. And she also, we have a brother, there were 3 children. So she was on the Arts Council of Great Britain. She was a vice president of the Royal Academy of Dance. She, in that capacity, did a lot of lectures and master classes and, judging at competitions. She also worked with professional ballet companies to review the choreography of certain ballets that were in their repertoire that had been made on her, that, the original choreography had been done with her, with the choreographer, and she could go there and say, that's not what Fokine intended, or this has gotten a bit muddy, this, should be freshened up here and there. So she was really busy. She gave back. She was involved. She didn't perform herself, but she was, pretty VIP in that ballet world. And she communicated in an amazingly fantastic way. People really responded to her and connected to her, and she was able to transmit a lot of the gifts that she had been given by great artists. She was able to pass on the knowledge and the intention to other kids and inspire them.
That's wonderful because, there are so many people who have a career not exactly like this, but, they're stars in their own right, but they never find happiness personally. And it's wonderful to know that she was able to do that and raise 3 children. So tell me, we know you're an actress. Tell me what your sister and brother do.
My sister is a photographer. She lives in Australia.
Oh, wow. So she really appreciated this and had a lot of feedback.
Yes. Oh, yes. And my brother has had a series of careers. He was a racing car driver, Formula Ford 2000. He was a ship's navigator. He's also been, a bit of a wanderer, I think.
Well, that's fabulous. Well, now, tell us some other wonderful personal stories about your mom. So what are some of the things that people who knew her as a ballerina and knew her as this wonderful artist would not know about her personality or her just her personal self?
Well, she was a lot of fun. I think Mr. Baryshnikov makes reference to that in his quote about her. She was really funny. She was like a big kid, up for jokes and, up for any adventure. In London, at one point, all the family lived all over the place, and we weren't in the same place all the time. But at one point, we were all in London. My sister, brother, and I all lived in London, and so did my mother for maybe 3 years. Not a whole lot of time, but in those 3 years, we decided that we would have a Russian dinner for, I think it was Russian Easter, which is a big deal, sort of like Christmas is, or Hanukkah in the Russian Orthodox religion. And not that any of us were that religious, but it was a really fun event. Russian Easter is a huge deal. So we had a Russian dinner at my house, and we made lots of Russian food, and we all dressed up as Russians. And I mean, it was really silly, like with big fur hats and baggy pants and high boots and embroidered blouses and skirts and all that sort of thing. And my mother came one year as a drunk. She'd put on a sort of grey fright wig, and she painted her nose completely red and dressed in tatters and appeared with an empty vodka bottle in her hand. It was hilarious. So, yeah, she was fun. She was
That's wonderful. Yeah, because, you hear how serious ballerinas are and how, of course, she was serious in her work, and she was a dedicated performer. But, to know that she had this wonderful sense of humor is terrific, because I'm sure that's what kept her in balance. So there are things that are very important for people to know. And this book of yours I just think it's magnificent. Now, are you going to be making a personal appearance at the book fair?
Yes, absolutely.
And so if people wanted to meet you, when would they be able to do so?
I believe that my time is 2:00 on Saturday, the 22nd.
Okay. All right. So if you want to meet Victoria, if you want to hear her stories about her mom, that would be the perfect time to see her, 2:00 on Saturday at the Miami Book Fair. And I would like to, we've got a few minutes left, Victoria. I would just like to know the favorite story of your mom, whether it's personal or professional. What is your favorite story?
Well, one of the stories that I really makes me almost weep when I think about it, and I wrote it in the book, is really the time where she became not just a leading ballerina, but a star at the age of 13. When she was one of the 3 baby ballerinas, because they were all little girls, in the second year of the company, they were allowed to have leading roles in the new ballets by Balanchine and Miassine, but they were not considered ready for the great classics like Swan Lake and that. The sort of older, mature ballerina of the company had dibs on those roles. And they went to London for the first time in the second year of the company, and it was a very important opening for Swan Lake on the program. And the day before Swan Lake was to open, the leading older ballerina got sick. And for some reason, they couldn't change the program. And Colonel de Basile, who was the director of the ballet, was looking for someone to replace her. And he picked my mother because she always went to everyone else's rehearsals and because she always watched everyone else's performance from the wings, because she was hungry to learn. And he said, all right, Irina, you're going to do it. And there was pandemonium. The mother of one of the other little girls was saying, well, it should be my daughter. Why is it her? That's not fair. And my granny was crying because there was a fuss and someone had questioned whether her daughter was the right person to replace the older ballerina. And the partner who was supposed to partner the ballerina said, I'm not dancing with her, with that little squirt. I'm not going out there in public with her. And at that moment of all the Russian pandemonium, the leading male dancer in the world walked through the door and said, what is going on here? And they said, well, she's sick and she's going to replace her, but she wants her daughter to do it and he won't dance with her. And he said, this is ridiculous. I'll do it myself.
Wow, that's a real compliment.
Dragged her into the back of the taxi and took her to his house in Chelsea where he had a rehearsal studio. And he sat her down, and she's 13, gave her a cup of milk and said, right, I'm going to explain the ballet to you. This is the story. This is your role. This is the psychological insights. This is the intention of the choreography. And he talked her through it, and then he rehearsed her for the rest of that afternoon and all the next morning. And that night they opened.
And she was brilliant, I'm sure.
And, the audience was aware that the ballerina dancing Swan Lake was 13. And my mother wrote that I quoted, what I will always remember about that night, the night she became a star, was not just that we did it, or that we did it and the audience liked it, but that when we were taking our curtain calls and the audience was applauding, Anton Dolin, the greatest male dancer in the world, led me forward, and in front of everybody, he kissed my hand.
Oh, wow.
And
well, Victoria, we're down to our last minute, unfortunately, but tell us quickly, what did he say?
He kissed her hand to introduce a new star to the world.
Oh, wow.
And the generosity of a great star to do that to a baby star, and to have her see this great man lead her forward to the edge of the stage and bend and kiss her hand in front of the world is a huge deal.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, I hope everybody listening today, unfortunately, we're at the end of our time, but my guest has been Victoria Tennant, and her book, Irina Baranova, and the Ballet Russes de Monte Carlo. You have to get it. It's wonderful. And I want to thank Victoria, and I want to thank all of you for listening to Women in Business, the show that brings you women entrepreneurs and senior managers. And I hope you really enjoyed our show today. You can connect with me on Facebook and Twitter, and be sure to download my book, Life Lessons from an SOB, on my website, spunkyoldbroad.com, where you can find information on my speeches, coaching, and resources. You can email me at gailcarson13@gmail.com. Thanks so much, Victoria, and hopefully people will come and see you Saturday, the date of the book fair. I think it's the 22nd at 2 p.m.
Thank you.